Welcome, everyone, to the Stepping Beyond Belief podcast. We're glad you're listening in with us again today. Today we have Arnie Campiot. He's I feel like one of our newer members in the congregation, but you've been around for 5+ years now, which is crazy. It's funny how we in the Church of God can think, oh, somebody's only been here 5-10 years, they're still new. And that's not the case. So we're glad to have you on, and we're looking forward to hear your testimony. So a little bit of background on Brother Arnie. He is natively from the Philippines, and he immigrated in his late teens with his mother and I believe his sister to Hawaii. And then several years later, connected with one of the brothers here in Avondale and came out and got saved. And we're here to hear the rest of the story. So where would you like to start on your testimony, Brother Arnie? Where does it
think
start?
it'd be well. It started. I think it'd be good to start where I was born. In the Philippines. I was born uh, in a small village south of our capital, about 2 hours
Mhm.
flight. So life is rough. We lived in poverty. Um, I did not grow up in a well. As I can remember, because my mom left to go abroad, so I grew up with the in care of, with my dad and my three sisters, and so I remember that when I probably was 4 years old, that was a time that my dad got saved. He He was a drunkard. He beat my mom. This is the story that my sisters tell me because
Mhm.
I don't remember because I was still young at
Are
that
you the
time.
baby of the family?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Fellow
have three
baby of the family here.
sisters, the only boy. Yeah. So anyway, so so it begins, I guess, my Christian journey, or my knowledge of the Bible and all of that essentially started when I was very young. Because when my dad got saved, um, he was going to church there where we were in the
Mhm.
Philippines in Mindanao, um, and according to my sister, he really did have uh, a turnaround, complete 180 from what he was. So he did get saved, and so we started attending a church there, uh, and growing up, so I was able to learn about the Bible, you know, like the basic stories of the Bible: Noah,
Mhm.
Adam and Eve, David and
Right.
Goliath, all of that stuff. Um, um, Fast forward, um, my sister uh my sister, my older sister, the oldest of the three, went to, uh, I guess, our papers going to the United States um, was being processed at the time, and
Mhm.
at this time, though, it was we weren't. What is this? It wasn't everybody. It was, for some reason, it was uh, one person and then the other person and all of that. So we didn't all go to the US all at the
Okay.
same time. It was sort of like one at a time. But anyway, it was time for my sister to process her papers, and she came across I'm not going to go through all that because I'm not sure it's her testimony. But
Yeah.
she came in contact with Sister Ellen. somehow God made that happen, and I met Sister Ellen. She's a minister in the
Mhm.
Philippines. Um,
Mhm.
when I was just probably about 6 or 7,
Okay.
she came to our town. Um,
Mhm.
and she preached there, and I was listening to her, and I'm sure at that time, um, also at that time I was, I would say, yeah, 8 or 9. God started talking to me already
Mhm.
through, when I hear messages from church and all
Right.
of that. And at the time, I would be in conviction, but
Mhm.
I feel like I was too young to. But I would respond like I want to serve God. That's
Right.
that's what I want to do. But I would fall back into to sin, I guess,
I
even
I
at a
remember
young age.
I remember being that age and just being very sensitive to the things of God. And one of the messages I remember, because missions was a big thing in the church organization I grew up in. And one of the powerful messages that struck with me when I was 9, 10, was this pastor had a whole row of guys standing up on stage, and it was talking about that. Um, I think it might be Jeremiah. There's this hole in the wall, and we need to stand in the gap. We need to keep the wall solid, and that is the next generation needs to be trained up and stand in the gap. And I remember, because I was one of the example, like you pull kids up. So this person goes, sits down, and I got pulled up. Okay, stand in the gap, and it just really resonated with me. Like I need to have this responsibility, um, and I need to be a person after God. Um, and it's really incredible how at such a young age we see kids today, and it's like, oh, they're not even thinking about anything, they're not listening, but they really are. They really are
Right,
hearing and absorbing the message, and even though they may not be able to take action, or just being irresponsible, not taking action,
right.
God's still speaking to them, and that's important.
Yes, and then that played a role, I think, with eventually when God spoke to me again, and started to recollect those memories from my childhood. But where did I stop? So yeah, so I met Sister Ellen. She preached in Mindanao. So I have all those good memories, I guess, is what I'm trying to get to,
Mhm.
of of just, and I guess building that, if you could want to call it foundation, because it, having those knowledge. Um and so fast forward, I was 16 when I moved to the US. I processed all my papers in Manila first. I was there for about 9 months, and the teenage years are very crucial
Mhm.
to our journey, or to our spirituality, because you're trying to search, who you are and all of
Mhm.
that. But uh, anyway, so when I moved to the US, it was pretty scary at the beginning because,
Mhm.
I didn't speak good English at all. Um,
Right.
but I was in a state, in Hawaii, right? I guess the demographics there uh, helped a little bit. There is a lot of fellow Filipinos there, so it
Mhm.
wasn't so much of an adjustment. I suppose if I did move here in the mainland, right? Um,
Right.
but that helped me, to get sort of kind of adjust or assimilate easier. It wasn't so much of an adjustment when it came to, but there was still a lot of new things.
Right. It's much different
But
culture over here.
right, right. Yes. So the language is one, but yeah, I was sophomore in high school. I was very quiet. Most of my friends were Filipinos. So like got to you know, and then when I first moved, I didn't want to stay in the United States. I kind of told myself, I'm just gonna find a job or whatever, earn some money, and I want to go back home.
Mm-hmm.
And then that kind of all changed, when you get to what is that? Kind of adjust, and you start to get um what is that? Friends and all of that, and
Mm-hmm.
enjoy sort of enjoy life, I
Absolutely.
guess. Yeah, when you're on that age, like I said, you just want to have fun. Um,
Absolutely.
and so yeah, so when I was 16, I was you know I did pretty well in school. Not wasn't valedictorian or anything like that, but school
Mm-hmm.
was okay. Like it wasn't like super. Oh, what is that? I'm not a rowdy kid or anything like that.
You
Um,
weren't flunking out, you weren't acing everything, but you were doing well
right.
in
I was
school.
average.
Yeah.
I think my GPA was 3 point. It wasn't quite 3.5. It was 3.4 or something like
Okay.
that.
That's
You
pretty
know,
good.
and so around my teenage years, I had no interest in getting saved. In fact, or worst, I got very distant with God. I
Mm-hmm.
had also a lot of, I guess, um, what is that? Grievances, I guess, if you want to
Yeah.
call it that, because I was separated from my mother at an early age, so that I think that had an effect on me. And then I didn't have my dad, after he quit all of the sin business and all of that, he got really sick too, and I felt like he wasn't really there, as a father figure. But he he
Yeah.
he was, and he tried, but because of all of that situation too. So I had a lot of baggage that, like, I kind of blame God for in my teenage years.
Yeah.
And
It
I started to kind of resent him that way.
well, it sort of sounds like your mom at a young age moved to the States
Right.
because America is that prosperous land that people want to come to. So your mom moved and you were kind of stuck and in a hard situation. Your dad got saved. Was he going to Sister Ellen's congregation or was he just going to wherever he could find in his area?
No, he was going to Brother Pabunan's church
Okay.
at that
So he
time.
was
Yeah.
going, he was religious, but then he got sick and you don't have your mom and all these different things. It's an environment that fosters that resentment, that that distance from God. It's like, well, my dad found God, but God's not doing him any favors, and I don't have my mom. I don't have all these things. I I feel when you move to America, I'm sure there's that you see all the wealth and prosperity, and it's like, well, why can't we have that back at home? I want this there, but you want
Right.
that here, and it just you have all this jumble of emotions at 16. That's a really hard emotional place to be at, going through all those changes. So no wonder you were kind of walking away from God in that setting.
Right. Right. But yes. So the good thing is, though, I was not like I what there was always that fear because of
Hmm.
my childhood, knowing God at an early age. Um like if there was a temptation to do something bad, right? There's always
Hmm.
that your heart races, and should I do this or not? And then of course a lot of time I would override my conscience and go deeper into to sin.
Right.
But I did appreciate that even there, like, when you're
Hmm.
trying to run away from God, he would still, um speak to you in that sense.
Right. So what got you from? So you went through high school. You were pretty average, above average. kind of distant from God. Sounded like you were pretty normal. I don't know if that's normal for someone that was an immigrant, but that's a pretty normal experience with the teenagers just kind of making it through and having some resentment build up. So, what what did you go into with your career out of high school? Did you take some gap years? Were like one of those surfers out in Hawaii, living the beach
I
life,
wish.
or did you go into a career like what does that look like after
uh,
16 after you moved?
well, yeah. So I did 2 years of high school, and then I went
Okay.
straight to college. I mean, there's really nothing. I felt like I didn't have any choice. I had to go to college. um, it was there's only one college in the island too, and in the
Okay.
island, right, the kids there, the normal kid there would want to um their dream is to get out of the island, right? Because you feel like you're sort of stuck there. But I didn't
Okay.
have that desire to move out of state at the time because I was it's terrifying, I guess, because it
Mhm.
like moving to a different place is already a new country is, at the time was scary in the beginning. So I
Moving's
didn't
very
want to,
difficult.
right. And so um yeah, going to the mainland was not one of my options. So I went to a small community college there, just doing like basic what is that? Classes. I got an associate's on liberal arts. Which right, whatever that means, but I think just, going to college, like being exposed to other students and all of that kind of helped me too.
Mhm.
Learning, even though it's just liberal arts, but I felt like it did do me some good, if anything.
So where did and how were you feeling with God through that time of college? Was it just kind of that same
Yeah,
resentment?
right. So
Just kind of
it actually got worse, because in college, you start to uh, be with um, friends that are not good influences.
Mhm.
So yeah, and I'm at the time because I was very easy to influence because I didn't know much.
Mhm.
So and then the temptation was to have that community, sense of belonging. So,
Mhm.
the peer pressure of, doing things even though you didn't enjoy it, but because everybody's doing it, you know.
Right. I want to be accepted.
Right, right.
I want to have a group. Um so then where did you go into work after college? Because I know you're now got some level of certification in nursing. So I know you don't just get an associate's and become a nurse. So
Right.
what's kind of your pathway there?
So, essentially, uh, I I did all my prerequisites to become an RN, and then, I applied, initially, I got denied. And then so I was kind of got very discouraged and just kind of stopped going to school. Then worked full time at one of the hotels to be a front desk
Okay.
agent. So that was kind of paying me enough money to kind of survive. But eventually I got very what is that? Tired, I guess. It was pretty
Discontent?
boring. Discontent, yeah. It
Yeah.
was boring, you just it didn't give me a sense of purpose, I guess. And so I
Mhm.
decided to go back and pursue because I've already had all my prerequisite for nursing. So I
Mhm.
went back to school and tried to apply again, and I didn't get into the RN program there, but they have a program where you become an LPN, and then they will
Okay.
bridge you to become an RN.
And what's
So,
the those different terms? I'm not familiar with those
oh,
acronyms.
sorry. So the LPN is licensed practical nurse. They're a little. We're nurses, but we're not. Ours. Oh, what is that? We there's certain things that we can't do that the RNs can, and
Okay.
the registered nurse can. But we're nurses.
Okay.
And I'm an LPN right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you didn't get to go to the like the step below a doctor, that would be an RN, right? You
Right.
went to like the entry level pathway for
Correct.
nursing, the experience route.
Yes.
So you went through that schooling, um, and got into that hospital environment. What was that like? Did
So
that have an
this
effect on you? Seeing
actually
people in
this is
pain?
when it all kind of was, um, uh, uh, when God really, really spoke to me. I want to backtrack a little bit. I did before I got into nursing during that time. There was a point where I think I was 24, 25. There was a point where I was really looking at my life and what my future would look like and all of that. And there's
Mm-hmm.
what I was seeing was not great, what I've become and all of that. And I guess you know how the Bible says that sin has its pleasure for a season, and it really
Mm-hmm.
did. When I was in sin, that there's really that aspect. But at some point, like there's come a point where you get sick of it.
Right.
Is this all what life is all about? And so I was very discontent with my life. I guess
Mm-hmm.
also because I didn't get into the nursing program, so that also had an effect.
Right.
And so I was kind of contemplating what my future would look like, and and so, but at this time, I still was not. I was religious at this time. Now I was going to a church there. Somebody invited
Mm-hmm.
me. I think it was my sister, but I
Okay.
was going because for the sake of going. I was not serious about it, and I was
Mm-hmm.
still living the sinful lifestyle. I would just go to church. Um, and then there was a point where God spoke to me, like, what are you doing with your life? And it was I think I got my wisdom tooth pulled out, and so I was kind of stuck at home.
Mm-hmm.
And I had time to think. So, and there was a lot of, I had habits sinful habits that I have formed and all of that. And I was very sick of all those habits.
Right.
And, and God spoke, what are you doing? And so this was, yeah, I think it was in the middle of the night. I'm not quite, uh, sure what time it was, but anyway, I was stuck in my room, obviously, because
Mm-hmm.
I was sick. Um, and yeah, God just spoke to me that I needed to give up my sinful habits.
Right.
And 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 a thought came that, like, if I was to die at that time, like, I knew where I was headed to.
Right.
There's no question there. And so that kind of, I know we don't serve God out of fear, but I
Right.
got scared. I knew I
Right.
was going, um, and so, uh, uh, and so, I was listening to a song at that time, and I was sobbing, and finally I knelt down. I just prayed,
Right.
and I said, God, I don't want to do these, sinful habits anymore. Will you help me? And he came down, and I asked him for forgiveness and all of that. And then I went to sleep. And then the
Mm-hmm.
next day I was a different person. I don't know what happened to me, but it was crazy. Like, and everybody, and when you first get saved, the experience,
Mm-hmm.
like, people are like, oh, what happened to you? you know
Right.
um so yeah, even at church, I kind of I started to take things seriously, like, and
Mm-hmm.
and from from the what is that? Be- best of my knowledge, I started to live. You know,
Mm-hmm.
w- the things that I know that is right,
Right.
I started to live that way. I wanted to live right, and
Right.
so and at work, for instance, there the my coworkers were just I started to become I guess become alienated with with my friends and
Mm-hmm.
my coworkers because it's we no longer agree on certain things.
Right.
And so but that even that I it took time for me to navigate. But looking back, like, I wasn't in truth yet then, and actually I didn't stay saved. I fell back to sin like 9 months after I didn't saved
Mm-hmm.
initially. But God was so faithful that
Right.
He saw that I wanted to live right, and He honored that.
Mm-hmm. Right. So you had this whole experience and you felt the difference and you're changing career, you're trying to find something to give you more meaning and purpose. So where does because my understanding is you connected with Brother Chip from our
Correct.
congregation. So how does that
Yes.
come into this equation?
Okay, so when I first got saved, right? So I was still attending that church. This was so became very active after I got
Mm-hmm.
saved. Became very active in that church. I was very close to the pastor. Um, and through I think it's important, and then to mention that. So I started to see the different things on that church that were wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And as I read the Bible more, there were things that are thrown in the pulpit that I thought that did not line up with the Bible, and God
Mm-hmm.
started to work um, in my heart and kind of reveal these things. But it was tough because at that time, I loved the people in the church, right? And I thought
Right.
I was living right, and then I go to uh, I would always go to the Philippines to visit my sister because she was still there, my oldest sister and her family.
Okay.
And so through her, I guess, and all of the memories that I from my childhood with her, I started to
Mm-hmm.
see the difference. Like she was living it in the Philippines, right? She was the dress standard and all of that, and
Mm-hmm.
and I wasn't seeing these things in the church I was going to. And there's some other things that I saw that were just not, Christ-like. And
Right.
so uh, and so it was a challenge when because I got so embedded to this church, and when I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
kind of, break away, that was really hard. But God made it possible. There was series
Right.
of events, and this was during COVID.
Right.
So I guess COVID
It's a
was a
wild
terrible,
time.
right, terrible time. But this was also the time when uh, I got accepted to, the LPN program, and all of a sudden, COVID hit, right, and they canceled our clinicals actually, that time. So we were very happy, but that did not play out good later on. But I mentioned that because through that, uh, I actually that was a time when I um I backslid. Um there was a lot of issues that I saw, and it was a lot of drama, and like, trying to get out, I guess, because at
So
that.
to kind of drill into that, you don't need to get into the details, but do you think the environment of that church, not speaking full truth, not preaching the whole Bible, and just kind of throwing some confusion in there, where you're like, okay, I'm reading the Bible, that thing from the pulpit that doesn't match up. Okay, these people aren't living the Bible. Do you think all of that kind of wore down your resistance to wanting to live holy?
Yes, yes. So
Okay.
good point. Yes, that's exactly what happened. So the resentment started to build, and the enemy started to work on me and all of that. And like if I guess yeah, I'm not gonna get into all the details, but essentially, I it brought me to a point where again I was very low, right? I lost my community. Um, but at this time too, there was some of the saints started to message me. Brother Nathan Latimer
Okay.
um, was in connection with Brother Pabunan. Brother Pabunan in Mindanao. Then he left Truth, but I, what is this? He sent me an email, and this was a time when I was already kind of interested with the Church of God and all of that, because Brother Prabunan from back home kind of like mentioned it to me and all of that, and of
Mm-hmm.
course my sister,
Right.
and so he sent me a message, and hey, they were actually planning to perhaps come and see us uh in Hawaii, but COVID hit, so that didn't pan out. But
Yeah.
so during COVID, so yeah, I backslid, and I was new to the nursing profession too. I just graduated that year. It was 2020.
What a year
So
to
there was a
graduate in
lot.
nursing.
Right, right. Yes. So and then, of course I went to work right after and all of that. And it was a very dire moment of my life, I would say. One of the lowest point. And I was but at that time I was they brother Nathan Latimer, he got me a subscription to the Remnant publication, the little pamphlet. So
Mm-hmm.
I would read that like here and there, and that would give me some encouragement. And because this was almost a year before I came to Truth,
Mm-hmm.
um, so I stopped attending that church during COVID. I felt like that was just the timing too, that I could just kind of. But I didn't just leave. I did have my reasons and all that, and I explained it to the pastor there and
Right.
all of that. And it was a whole thing, but and so s- during that time, I was contemplating life again, like what my future would look like, and and but I when I backslid, it was a horrible thing
Mm-hmm.
that I did. The feeling of that, I didn't want that to happen anymore.
Right.
Like if I was to get saved again, I don't want to fail God anymore.
Right.
That was my resolution, and I guess that was the time when uh, was what is this? I worked for a little bit at my job there as a new LPN. It was tough because you're learning a lot of things, and
Right.
top of that, dealing with COVID and all that. So I wasn't very happy about my job.
Right.
So I hate my job. I hated, like I had no prospect, no direction
Right.
whatsoever. So I was just very miserable. And my sister started to see that too, and she was very worried about me. She thought I was going to commit suicide, but I wasn't going to do that. But
Right.
it was just I was at a point where I was just it felt like I was Elijah, I guess, when that whole when he went to the cave and all of that. I felt like I was in a cave. Um,
Right. Well, you had a hard time when you moved out when you were 16, and life was hard. You put all this effort into education. You had a job you didn't like, so you did more education. You finally got into the job you wanted. You found a church. You found God. You lost out. The job's not what you wanted. COVID hit. Life is just horrible. It's a really depressing
right.
time after all of
Yes.
those different things happening all at once. Um,
Right, right.
really discouraging.
Right. And so but I remember at that time too, I was really searching online. So during COVID, a lot of the congregations started putting out their services online.
Mhm.
And so I was able to tune in. I was tuning in with, I think it was one of them was Connoquenessing and Tri-City
Okay.
it was live on YouTube, you know. So I was watching that back in
Mhm.
Hawaii, like just in my room. Um uh and you know, at that time there was a lot of quarantine going on, you know. I actually got COVID, and then you know, I had to call all my people that I had contact with and tell you know, they had to tell them they had to like
Self-quarantine.
quarantine
Yeah.
themselves. Yeah, because it was a whole deal. But I guess God using that to speak to me once again that I need you know, get to truth somehow. I had that desire, but at that time, you know, there's a lot of things that plays out.
Mhm.
I was also wanting to, you know, I mentioned about my nursing, uh, you know, wanting to be an RN. Um, so I was currently enrolled in that program. I just needed to finish 6 months of working at a facility, and then I can go back into the program. So there's that. I had a, and then, and then, so my sister was mentioned about brother Chip and sister Luz. You know, and if you wanted to move to a congregation, uh, there's that option there. And I had that desire. I even actually, I was I like to budget. And one of my lists in my budget thing, a spreadsheet, was to save up for a camp meeting, because that was mentioned to me that I could have attended a camp meeting and all of
Mhm.
that. So I had this desire to uh w- to kind of check out what's going on in the Church of God, I guess. But I still don't understand that whole thing back then. But I just uh but I did have I wanted something that I had. What did I have to lose? Like, you know, I was
Right.
miserable and all of that. So I wanted something better than what I had. And so fast forward 6 months through the job, I hated it, so I quit. I couldn't take it anymore, so I just quit and like kind of locked myself in my room, and and all of that. And through that, and then I get a Skype message from Brother Chip. Somehow, he was in connection with Brother Pamunan or my sister. But yeah, and inviting me to the camp meeting, because I did mention that I wanted to go to a camp meeting to Brother Pamunan. So somehow that kind of, you know, got relayed and all of that. So they contacted me, and so, you know, I bought, and then I bought my ticket and all of that. Uh, and I had this, and at this point, I had a desire to move too.
Mhm.
But like, you know, I was just going to the camp meeting and see how this is gonna turn out.
And did you come to the Arizona camp meeting, or did you go to another camp meeting? I don't remember which one you
It
went to.
was Mount Tabor.
Okay.
Yeah. So at this point, I wasn't saved yet. And so yeah, so the whole thing, I bought my ticket and all of that, and then, you know, got in touch with Brother Chip and all of that. Then I arrived in Arizona. This was it was end of July, and it was hot.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's nothing like Hawaii, right? Um, but and at the same time, I was also I was, you know, it was during COVID, and travel is sort of, you know, it's hard to
Mhm.
travel around that time. But I just felt like this is what God wants me to do. So uh I go to church that Sunday, and in immediately I knew I had to get saved.
Mhm.
And I just, after the message and then the song came, and just went to the altar, and I told Brother Ward, I want to get saved. And
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say that at that time, like the feelings, like when you first get saved and all that wasn't there anymore. But I knew that God saw that I wanted to get saved,
Right.
and He saved me there. And then after that, then you go to a camp meeting, like,
It's a
and so that
life-changing
was just
experience for sure.
right. And I thought I was in heaven,
Mm-hmm.
and when I saw the what in the world, like, this is what I was missing. So, yeah, that whole my first camp meeting in Mount Tabor, I'll never forget. I thought I was in heaven.
Yeah, it's such an incredible experience. I remember my first time I got saved in April, and I'd been coming to church for about 3 months. I got sanctified in July, and Brother Nick talked me into going to Mount Tabor about 3 weeks before. So I bought a ticket that was more expensive than it could have been, and I only caught Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday, and then I flew back on Monday. It was such a short, concentrated, but my goodness, it was such an incredible
Right.
experience with all the people there, and
Yes.
just the preaching, the singing, all the saints. And for me, one of the things I had to deal with was just the battle with lust. As a 20-year-old male, that's just kind of what you deal with. It's
Right.
just kind of prototypical for a lot of guys. And one of the wonderful things about a camp meeting, when you've battled with that for so many years, is you go and everyone is modest. Everyone's within the standard. There's no like it's almost like it's a this this big protective bubble of there's no temptations here. That there's
Right.
nothing to pull you away. So there's no fight. It's just all the good, none of the bad, and it's
Yes.
just such a glorious, relaxing, encouraging time. And
I
it's really
agree.
a high time in Zion, as the saying goes. So that's a really incredible experience. How you just came to your first service, you went down to the altar, you got saved, and then got to go to a camp meeting right around the corner.
Right. Yes. It was literally the next day because
Oh my
Sunday,
word.
Monday. Yeah, we
Uh,
flew Monday, and then the first service was Tuesday. So
Oh my goodness. And that was the
right.
2020 camp meeting or the 2021 camp meeting?
It was 2021.
Okay.
Yes. I believe they canceled your camp meeting that year. I'm not sure.
We canceled 2020, but we had
Was it?
2021.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's
So 2020
I
was such
wasn't sure.
a weird year with all the
Right.
with COVID. So, what happened after that?
So right. So then there's the dilemma of, do I go back home, you know, or, you know, uh, what is this? Stay in Arizona, right? And that was a no-brainer for me. I had to stay. Um, but there were still things I had to deal with, like so before I actually went to the camp, I mean, flew for the camp meeting, I started already processing all my what is this? Basically legalities so I can practice as a nurse here in Arizona. I had to endorse my Hawaii license, and
Okay.
so it's valid here in Arizona. So kind of I had the hopes of perhaps I can make it out here, right?
Mhm.
But at that time, I actually before I left Hawaii, there was a chance. So that was already kind of in my mind. There was a chance I'm not going to come back here. So I
Mhm.
pack up all my stuff there. uh, and so I was living with my sister and Ralph and my mother.
Mhm.
So I pack up all my stuff. So sure enough, I didn't come back anymore. But anyway, so there was that dilemma, right? So, well, I can't just, move here without a job and all of that. So
Mhm.
even with my concerns, I chose to just stay. And God slowly, I mean, not actually it was a not slowly. It was actually boom, boom, boom. Like it was like one blessing after the other,
Right.
and it's everything just started to fall in place. because little did I know that my sister was also desiring to get saved and come out to truth. And I didn't know that. I couldn't foresee that when I was in Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
But I would mention, what I was, up to and all that. Hey, she actually, when I was in Mount Tabor, she called me and, and I mentioned to her, hey, I got saved. I got sanctified and all of that. And, and, and it did something on her. It got her to think as well.
Mm-hmm.
With, and, so that kind of started the whole chain reaction, or the ripple effect, I guess. Uh, my sister saw the change, and I know it's a genuine change. It just wasn't like something that some people can change for a little bit and then
Right.
and fall back to it. But it was she saw that the genuineness of it, and that I really wanted to serve God, and so she eventually she asked if she could visit and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry, I think I'm like
No, I don't see a lag on my
way
end.
far ahead.
No.
I'm way far ahead, but let's see. So yeah, God's just started to work out my life so I can be settled here in Arizona with a job and everything,
Mm-hmm.
because God knew that my whole family is coming.
Yeah. Your testimony reminds me of that one rich young ruler that asked Jesus, like, what must I do to be saved? And he's like, well, go sell all that thou hast and go and follow me. And
Right,
he's like, oh well, he went away sad because he had much possessions. And
right.
you, from the American standpoint, perhaps you didn't have great possessions, you didn't have a mansion or anything like that. But from the
Yes,
perspective of where you started, of
yes,
being in that impoverished Filipino village, whatever, to then come
right,
to the States, you have a job, you've got a family you're living with, you've got all these different things, and you're like, no, I need to get close to God and I'm going to give it all up. I'm going to,
right.
I'm not worried about where I'm living, what I have, what I'm doing for work. I need to be with Jesus. And you went and followed that. And then God
Yes,
blessed. You didn't do it because you knew
yes,
God was going to work out the job you have or the house you're living in, the car. You weren't thinking about that. God worked that out afterwards. And
yeah.
I think it's a really important thing to note, because how many people are holding back because, well, I've got this list of uncertainties, all these unanswered questions that I can come to God when I know I've got these answers. And no, it's like with Peter, step out of the boat, come to me, I've got you. And that's how God works.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a leap of faith for me to come to the mainland. I mentioned before, it's
Mhm.
terrifying. Like, all I knew was the island life, It's a
Mhm.
small island. That was my safe zone.
Mhm.
It was comfortable, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful island too. And I told myself that was my home. But when God tells you to move,
When God
he
tells you to
tells you.
move. Have you settled in? You feel like Arizona's home now? Now that it's
Oh,
been several
yes,
years?
yes, I found the beauty of the desert.
Well, good.
Yes. Yeah. It's a beautiful place. I mean, it's not all desert. You go drive up north, 2 hours away, and it's total different world.
It Once you connect with the family of God and really plug into that community of like-minded people that want to serve God, want to do what's pleasing to him, any place will become beautiful.
Right. It really, yeah,
It
that's what
really
makes it
can.
home. Right.
And we can find that here in the desert, or you go up north to Idaho and they get large amounts of snow and it's kind of miserable a good chunk of the year,
Right.
but it's it's wonderful because you got that community, or you go to the cornfields of Ohio, the hills of Kentucky, whatever it may be, that place becomes
Yes.
beautiful because the people of God are there, and
Right.
you learn to like where you're at.
Yes, I agree.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to hop on here and share your testimony. Is there, in closing, is there anything you would
Mhm.
say to someone that is in one of those phases of life that you've gone through, whether it's they're a teen, kind of just resentful at what life's dealt them, or an early professional just kind of dissatisfied with where life, their career, and all of that's working out? What message of hope would you give to those subsets of people?
I would say that, seek ye first the kingdom. Um, Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all of these things, shall be added unto you. There you go. Yes, and that's, the verse that I kinda cling to when I moved. Um, and my, message is, you you s seek God first. Put God first, and God sees your heart. God sees that you want all these things.
Mhm.
But you can be the wealthiest person, right? From my standpoint of being in the U.S. is, like I mentioned earlier, is that being in the promised land. But
Mhm.
even that doesn't equate to salvation. Doesn't equate to being right with God. And you know when you're right. Uh, Knowing that, yeah, your conscience is clear, and you know where you're going. Uh, and you put God first, you get saved, and God will work out your future.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Brother Arnie. I really appreciate you hopping on here, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. And thank you
Thank
everyone
you.
for listening.